You're not lazy, you're running. And the worst part, you call it a break. You sit down to work, but your mind already feels heavy. Nothing is really stopping you. There's no real problem, but something inside you resists. So you grab your phone, just for a second, just to relax, just to clear your head. It feels harmless, it feels normal, and that's exactly why it works. One video turns into two turns into 10. Time passes, but you don't feel it. It feels like relief, like the pressure is gone, like you escaped something, even though nothing actually changed. And deep down, you know, this wasn't a break, it was an exit. Because the moment you stop, it all comes back. The pressure, the responsibility, the thing you were supposed to do, still there, still waiting. Nothing changed, except now you feel worse, and even less ready to start. So you tell yourself something simple. I'll start in a minute, just one more video. I'm not ready yet. It sounds reasonable. It feels logical, but it's not a plan. It's a delay, a quiet agreement to stay exactly where you are. This isn't laziness. Laziness doesn't feel like this. Laziness is calm. This isn't. This feels like tension, like avoidance, like something you don't want to face. So instead of moving forward, you move away. You don't avoid the work, you avoid the feeling, the discomfort, the doubt, the possibility of failing. Because starting means risk, and staying where you are feels safer, even if it keeps you stuck. So your brain learns something dangerous. Escape equals relief. Avoidance equals comfort. And slowly it becomes a habit. Not a decision, not a mistake, a pattern, one that repeats every single day. And the more you repeat it, the easier it gets to choose it again. The harder it becomes to break, because now it's familiar, automatic. You don't think about it anymore. You just do it and call it normal. But this isn't rest. This isn't recovery. This is escape, a loop that feels like relief but leads nowhere. And the worst part, you think you're taking a break while slowly training yourself to run. And at some point, you start believing the lie that you just need more time, more motivation, the right moment to finally begin. But that moment never comes, because it's not missing. You're avoiding it. Every time you escape, you reinforce the habit. You teach your brain that running away works, and slowly, without realizing it, you stop trying to face anything at all. You tell yourself you're preparing, that you're getting ready, that you're thinking things through, but nothing is actually moving forward. You're stuck in the same place, just feeling slightly better about it. And that feeling, it's dangerous, because it makes staying comfortable feel like progress, even though deep down you know you haven't moved at all. So days pass, then weeks, and nothing really changes. You still think about doing it, you still plan it, you still imagine how it could be, but you never actually step into it, because the moment gets replaced again and again. And the more you delay, the heavier it feels to even begin, until starting feels harder than staying stuck. And here's the part no one tells you. The longer you avoid something, the bigger it feels in your mind. Not because it actually is, but because you keep running from it. Avoidance doesn't solve pressure, it amplifies it. So what started as something small now feels overwhelming, not because it grew, but because you kept feeding it with every step you didn't take. So now you're not just avoiding the task, you're avoiding the feeling of starting it, the weight, the tension, the uncertainty. And every time you escape, you make that feeling stronger. Until eventually, you don't even try anymore. Not because you can't, but because your brain has learned that running is easier than facing it. And the scariest part is, you don't even notice it happening. It becomes your normal, checking your phone, delaying the start, telling yourself later, over and over again. Until one day, you look back and realize you've been stuck in the exact same place for way longer than you thought. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. You're not stuck because life is hard. You're stuck because you keep choosing escape. Not once, not twice, but every single time it gets uncomfortable. And until you see that, nothing changes. Because the problem isn't outside, it's the pattern you keep repeating. So if the pattern is the problem, then changing it won't feel comfortable. It won't feel natural. It won't feel right. Because everything inside you is trained to escape, to delay, to avoid. So the moment you try to do something different, your mind will push back, hard, not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. And this is where most people quit. Not at failure, but at discomfort. That moment when it feels heavy, when it feels slow, when it doesn't feel rewarding, they stop, they go back to what feels easy. And just like that, the pattern wins again. Not because it's stronger, but because it's familiar. But what if that feeling is exactly where change begins? What if the resistance is the signal you've been waiting for? Not something to escape, but something to go through. Because every time you stay, instead of running, you weaken the pattern. Even if it doesn't feel like it. Even if nothing changes, yet. It doesn't start with motivation. It doesn't start with confidence. It starts with a decision, a quiet one. The moment you notice the urge and choose not to follow it. Just once. That's enough. Because breaking a pattern doesn't require perfection. It requires interruption. And the first time you do it, it will feel wrong. You'll want to go back. You'll want to escape. That urge won't disappear, but you'll see it clearly. And that changes everything. Because now you're not inside the pattern anymore. You're watching it. And that means you can choose differently. That's where control begins. Not when things get easier, but when you stop reacting automatically, when you pause, even for a second, and choose something different. Not perfect, not big, just different. Because that moment is where the loop starts to break. And most people will never reach this point. They'll keep scrolling, keep delaying, keep escaping, calling it rest, calling it normal, and repeating the same day over and over again. Not because they have to, but because they never stopped long enough to see it. So the next time you feel it, that urge to escape, don't follow it, stay, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels wrong, because that moment is where everything changes, not outside, inside. And most people will walk away, but if you don't, this is where it starts.